we're going to transition to DEF work with schools and hear from educators who are helping create and deliver materials to students. Some exciting new work has been occurring at Junction City High School in Oregon, a longtime DEF partner. This next short piece introduces the recent work there from a variety of perspectives.
Well, Decision Education Foundation has been instrumental in really helping us connect our ninth graders to high school. Even before the school year begins, we hold a Bridge Week in August, and we connect our kids with peer mentors and with some of our staff. And Decision Education has helped us through that process, as well as a new class in 2019-20. We had a class called Ninth Grade Success, and DEF was extremely helpful in helping us plan and organize that class, train our teachers, really make sure that it was successful from the get-go, that our teachers felt confident coming in to the school year. And it was just a great partnership throughout this school year, and we look forward to what's to come.
It's changed my thinking, and I think I've been doing it for a few years now, and I'm able to approach tons of different situations with the DEF frame of thought. And I'm always thinking about values, and when we're looking at decisions, I use the DEF stuff at home with my friends, and even at school and working with the kids and curriculum. And I just think it crosses so many borders. You can use it in all aspects.
I feel like I'm still gonna struggle with uncertainty because I'm not always gonna just pull out a paper and write down the chain. First, that's pretty obvious, but I do know that it helps me think of other ways, not just resorting to being sad about stuff or being really confused and frazzled. I always kind of have a way to do it. And I feel like the class kind of changed the way I think about making decisions, because it's not always just spontaneous.
Anytime we can give students more tools and skills to navigate what's a pretty tough age, I think certainly reduces anxiety that they have and decisions that they have to make. High school is not an easy period of time, and certainly the foundation or the skill set that we're providing them as 14, 15-year-olds is really going to pay dividends down the line, making decisions with confidence.
Now, here to share more about some of the great things going on in Oregon, it is my pleasure to introduce Liz Henderson, an innovative teacher and champion of decision education at Junction City High School in Oregon.
Good morning. I'm Liz Henderson in Junction City, and I'm just going to share with you guys a little bit about what we're doing out in Junction City and what we've been doing and our partnership with DEF. So we started with DEF, working with them with the Strong Start program, and we've been offering the Strong Start program to our students for 5 years. It started out called the Summer Bridge. We still call it that and was referred to in the video. And we started with just about 20 students who we were kind of pulling into the program. And now we had over 60 enroll this year. And that was in a COVID year. So that was a really big deal to have all those kids sign up to spend a week of their summer learning how to be more successful in high school. We've transitioned this year, and we started offering them a quarter credit for their work. And that just incentivizes it that much more, but it also shows how much we value the curriculum that we're providing to kids over this week. They do a lot of games. As you can see, all these pictures are from Strong Start over the years. And the picture on the right is from not this past summer, but 2019's crew, when we had over 40 students, and our senior mentors are there in the picture with them. And they just spend a week getting to know each other, getting to know themselves, and getting to know the decision chain so that they enter high school ready to face some of the decisions, or more ready to face some of the decisions they'll have. And yes, it's a week of their summer, but they all overwhelmingly enjoy it and feel more confident stepping into high school. After I started working with DEF through the Strong Start program, I realized how amazing the curriculum was and how much I wanted to be able to use it in my everyday classroom. But when we were working with 20 to 40 kids over the summer, once I got into my classroom, I'd only have 2 or 3 in my assigned class that knew the vocabulary. And so I really worked with Chris and my administrators to bring the curriculum into what we call our team class, which is our advisory homeroom period, and team meets once a week and for all 4 years. So in 2017, we began incorporating the DEF material into the curriculum for all of our high school students in that team class. So once a week when they met with their team teacher, they would receive DEF lessons. And we incorporated the chain and the basics of understanding that foundation. And then we started working it into lesson plans that we already were doing. We already were working with kids to choose classes, to choose post high school decisions on their life. We were already working with them to research their career choices. And so how can we fit the DEF framework and give them those tools to make those decisions in a better way? 9th and 10th grade lays that foundation and really teaches them the vocabulary. They work through case studies like you saw at the beginning of the video. And then in 11th and 12th grade, we really put the foundation to work and apply it to their lives. And this is just one of the worksheets that the kids work through. So the HIP idea is a DEF curriculum, and we continue to adapt the curriculum to what is relevant to the students and to their lives. So last year in our school, we had huge issues with vaping. It was a really big problem across our school. So we adapted, okay, guys, let's apply this DEF curriculum to those decisions that you're seeing every single day in your life. And then we always allow kids to really look at their own decisions. So what are you facing right now? What are you trying to figure out? And how can we look at that through the DEF lens? After we saw that this was working in team, but kind of slowly, I was working with my administration to look at 9th grade on track numbers. And we came up with the idea to incorporate DEF into a class that all 9th grade students are required to take for the first trimester of high school. And the school administration was really looking for a way to help the on-track percentages for 9th graders in our school and how many credits they were earning during that 9th grade year. We were seeing that they were really struggling. And so what can we offer them in a class? And we started it last year. It's taught by the student's team teacher. So this is a teacher they'll see all 4 years of high school. But previously, before this class, you only saw that teacher once a week for all 4 years. Starting last year, students start with their team teacher and they see them every single day for the first trimester of their high school career. And we had teachers that said by the end of that first trimester, the relationships they had with their students were equal to the relationships they'd had by junior year with their past group. So they were able to excel those student relationships fourfold. They were able to reach those junior levels within the student's freshman year. We worked together with DEF to form our goals, and the course curricular goals are for students to work on their personal best, their academic success, and their career exploration, and it's all built on a DEF foundation. So we're all using the DEF vocabulary, and how do we make the best decisions for ourselves when we're trying to reach those? We have weekly check-ins with the students through Google Forms, and those provide us with tons of data that then is shared out. So I'm able to analyze the data. We do emotional check-ins. We ask kids how connected they are with the school, how connected they are at home, what they need. And then I share that information with our counselors, and our counselors are able to reach out immediately to students who seem to be suffering emotionally, who aren't connected, and help them come into the school more. And that's been even more important this year with COVID. While we have these kids on the other side of a screen and we're able to see who needs that help, and our counselors are able to reach out to them at home, call them in, do an individual Zoom. And we built in 60 minutes a week for study skills and homework to help those students. And then we're also doing targeted academic interventions. So when progress report comes out, we start with, okay, everyone who's struggling in math class, we'll pull you in on a given day and really work on raising those grades. These are some pictures from our success class last year. We got all students, all ninth graders from our school went to a college campus for a tour. We do live in Oregon, so that's the upper right-hand corner, and it was pouring down rain, but we're used to it. So we weathered the storm and kids got to step foot on a college campus and really think about where they were going. The middle picture there is one of our teachers giving the graduation pledge. So he took all the students out to where our graduations actually held and talked to them about how in 4 years we want to see them there and we want them to pledge to get there as graduates. Lower left-hand corner is a very successful business lady, and she is in charge of the Springfield Chamber of Commerce. She's a Junction City High School graduate, and she came and spoke with students and had some experience to share with them about how she struggled as a young student at Junction City and has been successful in the decisions she made to get there. And then we did a lot of fun activities to help the kids learn about the decisions they're making. And this summer, we were looking at our schedule around COVID and we realized we had some room. And so we created our 10th grade seminar. It's the addition to 9th grade success. We spent all summer making improvements and adjustments to both the 9th grade curriculum and then expanding that into the 10th grade year. So students are remaining with their team teacher. They're spending the first period of every day with that team teacher again. For 9th graders, we included more decision case studies that came from what the teachers said they wanted last year. So the Ben story that we just heard, the Jalen story, the Isabella, we're putting those all into the curriculum. The kids are looking at them and working through the chain. More repetition with the DEF material. And we shifted our study time, which used to be spread out throughout the week, to 1 day a week, so we could really help those kids more. In 10th grade, they're expanding their DEF stuff to more college and career exploration, returning to some of these case studies. The case studies were new this summer, a couple of them, so we put those into 10th grade as well. And we're working on increased goal setting work for those guys. And one of my kiddos here, one of my good success stories, these are my teen kids. And I started with them as they were my summer bridge kids on the left there, little 9th graders. And they came to me largely by recommendation of the middle school counselor. So these were kids they really thought might struggle in high school. And I worked with them in that summer bridge program before they entered high school. And I've kept them as my teen kids. And I've taught them DEF throughout the whole line. On the right is our picture from last year. And we continue to grow. And I have kids from all realms. I have a kid in this group who lives with grandparents and grew up homeless. I have kids in here on IEP and SPED programs. I have kids in here who are struggled with dropout. And some of my biggest success stories is one of my students named Manny, who I've worked with again and again. And I think Manny's a great DEF story because Manny continues to make bad decisions, but he continues to work with me to reflect on those and make a better decision next time. And I think that's really huge. As a sophomore, he was failing like 3 classes. So I worked with him to make a decision to drop one of those classes so we could focus on raising his grades in the other one and to really focus on his value of playing football. And he was able to raise those grades and become eligible to play football in the fall. After football season, he started to slip again. This summer, we had another meeting with him, me and our school counselor, and we really talked to him about, Manny, what do you value? And at this point in his career, he's really where we would put normal kids towards a GED path, but he really values a diploma. So we're continuing to work with him. He just finished a class at the midterm point in this term. So we're going to get him another class and accelerate his credits. And hopefully we'll get him to continue focusing and making those better decisions that will keep him on the point to a diploma. And one of my other greatest stories is a girl named Shelby who has been working. She's from a pretty low income family and she really wants to go to college. And she's interested in the medical field. So this summer when COVID hit, all of our students had to make a pretty big decision, which was to transfer their education online or to continue with the remote learning through teachers. And Shelby's family initially chose online, but I wasn't sure that was the best path for her, knowing what she was interested in. So I asked her and her parents to come meet with me, and we pulled out the chain work and we looked at it, and it turned out they were missing a lot of useful information about what they would be offered online versus in building. And so we talked about that. I shared that information with them. We returned to Shelby's values. What are you really interested in? And she really wanted her medical certificate, and she could only get that through the remote learning and not our full online program. So I gave Shelby all these tools, and then I sent her home. I said, "You're not in a great decision state, are you?" And she's like, "No, I'm very overwhelmed." And I said, "Go home, think about it, and let me know." And so then she got back to me with her decision, but we were able to talk about all that and work through it because she's aware of the vocabulary. She's worked on it for 3 years now, and she was able to make what I think is a really great decision for her. On top of my work in the classroom, like I mentioned in the video you saw, I've been using this at my home. I used it with a really good friend who was trying to decide if she should move back to Oregon from San Francisco area a couple years ago. And I was with a group of friends when we made that decision. Well, we didn't make the decision, but we worked it through. We built a weight and rate chart, which is one of the tools DEF uses. And we talked about, should she move home or should she stay down there where she was making more income, had more job opportunities? And we worked through that, and I kind of forgot about it. And 2 years later, I had one of the friends who had been there text me and say, "Hey, how do I get access to that decision-making stuff? My grandmother is actually not doing well, and my family is really struggling with how we make these end-of-life decisions. And should we put her on hospice? Should we continue to seek care?" And that was a really big decision. And she knew that they needed more help and tools. And so she reached out to me and was looking for those tools that I was able to provide her. So that's how it goes outside of the classroom, and I'm able to use it in my real life as well. So those are just some of the ways that DEF has impacted my life, and I've been able to use it to impact the lives of others around me. And now I'm going to pass it off to Carrie Brumbach, who works in the Redmond School District over the mountain from me. And she's going to share a little bit about how she's been using the DEF program.
Thank you, Liz. That is some really great work. I don't know if you caught all of that, but Liz and those folks in Junction City are really making a difference in students' lives using the decision education curriculum. Just a little bit about my background. I started with Decision Education Foundation in 2015 with the Summer Bridge program, as it was called then, in Elmira, Oregon, working at Elmira High School with our incoming freshmen. I did that for 2 years in the summer and then made a transition to Central Oregon at Redmond School District. But I still continue to help other educators bring decision education into their districts and into their buildings after I had left Elmira High School. Since I've been in Redmond since 2017, I've worked with our local 9th grade bridge program. We call it Camp 9. And I've included vocabulary and curriculum and some of the videos that the Decision Education Foundation has created for decision quality and decision skills. I have been teaching this will be my 13th year. I am married happily for 13 years and have 2 wonderful children, 8 and 10 years old. And I can tell you that over the course of the last 5 years with DEF, I know personally and as an educator that decision education and decision quality is not limited to the classroom. I realized this very early on. I think that as educators, and if I have educators here in the attendance other than our panelists, we know that there are gimmicks in education that our districts adopt very temporarily to spark interest and spark student engagement for a short term. Sometimes we can be fortunate enough to have things be long lasting and continue that education within our districts, but sometimes we just end up moving on to the next best thing. And I think one of the things that's important to mention about decision education and decision skills is that it's not gimmicky. This is not something that we just adopt temporarily in the short term and drop later on because something new and innovative has come up. Decision skills and decision quality is something that is timeless. It is ageless as well. This is something that our students, our staff, our school boards, parents, anybody within the realm of making decisions, which is all of us, we can all benefit from decision education, decision quality and decision skills. To give you an idea, the work at Junction City is amazing because it deals with students on an academic level, right? And on a very personal level. And we can extend that into not only decisions that students are making in the classroom and at school, but we can also extend that to those really hard decisions that students are making on a social level, on a personal level. We can give them the skills within decision education, and they can take that into peer pressure moments, or moments of anxiety around decisions about the future, moments about stress and anxiety. Right now, there's a lot of conversations all over the nation about social emotional learning because our students are at home in remote learning and they're struggling. Those who have had decision education background and those who have gotten those skills have a little bit of a leg up navigating those really hard and tough decisions that we're dealing with in this environment that we find ourselves in education and in our personal lives. Through the years, I've helped kids navigate extreme peer pressure and stressful situations. I've helped kids navigate academics versus sports using all of these decision education skills. I've helped students navigate conversations with parents, conversations with their teachers, with best friends, with other family members and relatives. Again, I think Liz made a really good statement about decision education, it's borderless. We can extend this out of the classroom into our homes and into our jobs and into our personal lives. And I think that's really important. My husband, unfortunately, was diagnosed with leukemia at the end of February of this year, right before COVID hit. 2 days later, there was a COVID outbreak in the United States. And we were dealing not only with, he and I are both educators, not only with the situation of my husband no longer being able to teach and dealing with a life-threatening disease, but also dealing with our children being pushed out of their educational homes and into our home for remote learning, while also dealing with a father who now has a potentially life-threatening cancer. So we had a lot of decisions to make, a lot of health decisions, a lot of decisions regarding our own children's education, a lot of decisions about ourselves as educators in this climate. And those are extremely emotional and heart-focused questions, right? Those are the things that really tug on our heartstrings. And the great thing about decision education, and it may seem a little bit interesting to bring it up in a situation where you're talking about cancer and COVID, but I
guess everybody else has had that go down.
Little bit of peace of mind, especially when it's really hard to determine, what are we going to do with our future? And in addition to that, conversations that you have after you get decision education and after you've experienced gaining those skills, that vocabulary and language, as Liz has stated too, follows you. It follows you into familial conversations. And your family members start asking, that is really interesting, the way that you're talking about a decision. Tell me more about that. That sounds like something that would help in my life. And this is a, pop culture kind of a thing, but when we're working with students, this decision education and decision skills and decision quality really become parts of life hacks. Like I'm really struggling with a decision and I'm just going to make it spontaneously and hope that the roll of the dice comes out well in the end. But what this does is gives you kind of a little set of life hacks to work with, to understand your decision, to realize that there could be creative alternatives, to look for more information. Should these be life hacks? I mean, I think we all realize that there's a process in decision making, but if we put a name and a language to it and help students with those steps, it becomes some really amazing tools that our students use. And that really has been my experience in the last 5 years. When I said that decision education is ageless, we're trying to bring this decision language into our 6th grade. There's a huge transition that happens between 5th and 6th grade, in our district at least. And we have a 6th grade launch program that helps students navigate middle school in preparation for what's to come. And our decision education tools are fitting into that in a way that is helping those younger kids also understand decisions. So it's timeless, it's ageless, it's not a gimmick. It's something that we can definitely see long-term benefit from, as Liz has demonstrated. And other presenters today, our panelists, are also going to mention ways that this has become a long-term language and a long-term route of education in their schools and in their lives as well. So that's what decision education is. We're working at an academic level, but it spreads. And it doesn't have borders, and it is timeless and ageless, and it's truly tools that all of us really can use in our future and to make those choices that really affect our life's trajectory. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys to tell you about my experiences with DEF. I think it's grown over the years. I think in the development process, we've seen some amazing changes and amazing adaptations. We have some amazing stories that are anecdotal and also really relevant to today's environment, today's culture, today's educational arena. And I implore you to check it out if you haven't already, and really consider this fit in your life and in your child's education, and students that you may teach their education. And if you're an administrator, definitely in theirs. It's benefiting the future of our students. It really is. I'd also like to mention before I pass this on today that the presentation today is being recorded. It will be available to our attendees in the next week or so. So don't be worried if you had to take a step out or if you missed part of this. It's definitely going to be available later on. So no worries there. And I apologize if I had lost connection at some point. So again, I'm so excited you guys are here to learn about decision education and decision skills. For our next presenter today, I'm so honored to introduce Amy Stranari, a counselor at Thurston High School in Springfield, Oregon, to share more of the information and effect VEF has had in her life. So on to you, Amy.
Great, thanks, Carrie. Yeah, I feel lucky to share a little bit about the work I've got to do with Decision Education Foundation and just decision quality in general. I've been a counselor now, well, it's always scary when you start losing count, so it's about 26 years, but I've really been at a high school for the last 19, and it was about 10 years ago that I got connected in with Chris and at DEF and got the training. And so it was definitely an immediate tool I could use in my office with students of helping them make the decisions that they were facing. And so that was really awesome for me, always looking for quicker tools to be in using when I'm talking to students. It's hard as a high school counselor because you only get brief moments with students, maybe 15, 20 minutes, because they need to be in class, they need to be learning. And so the ability to use the chain, and you could really focus in on what was going on with them. Was it a framing issue? Were they not figuring out creative alternatives? What was going on for them was really an awesome tool to help my language with them, to help kind of find clarity to move on. And the little hack that, as Carrie was talking, was not for the kids, it was actually for me, is I put that poster, maybe you saw the poster that was behind Chris when he started, that poster is for me. I put it behind the kid. So when I'm talking to them, the kid is kind of all around the place and I'm trying to circle in on what's going on, I know when I look at the chain, I'm like, oh, the weakest link that we're talking about with the kid is their sound reasoning, or it's a framing issue or whatever. And it helps guide me in my conversations. So it has been on my door for many, many years, and has been helping me become a better counselor for sure. And so I've always appreciated that. About 5 years ago, well, I don't know how long I've known. So you're going to get to hear from Frank Cook, which is going to be really fun for you. He's a volunteer. I met Frank. We were introduced by DEF, by Chris and his father, introduced us because Frank had moved into my area after retiring, and he wanted to work with high school students because he had been doing this work for many, many years in the corporate world. And so kind of a brainchild, if you ever get the pleasure of meeting Frank, was to create a class. And so we were able to work with students on college and career readiness. And that was really fun. Sadly, we have not been able to do it in the last couple of years just because of time and focus, but we were able to work with seniors, juniors, and sophomores, and really dive deep into helping them make some post-high school decisions around who they are, what's important to them, what their focus is. And it was really, really enjoyable. And it actually helped me clarify even better as a counselor, what are they really thinking? What are the things they need to do to really help clarify them as a person? As you know, high school is challenging, and it's so fun for me as a counselor because I get a kid from 9th grade to 12th grade. As you can imagine, that kid coming in at 9th grade and what they look like when they graduate across the stage. There's so much change. And so it helped us really dive deep into those questions that kids are facing. And like Carrie and Liz have talked about, socially, academically, and just in their personal lives. And so we developed a lot of curriculum, had a good time. The last class we taught were sophomores, which was really fun. And they are now seniors. So in the midst of my video conferencing world with kids, they are in this new challenge of picking their choices, which, as you can imagine, everyone's choices are kind of being upended in this pandemic. And there's financial issues, there's issues around health and safety, around should they leave. So I think the ability around flexibility and creative alternatives, it feels scarier to look at that, but actually the chain helps people realize that this is a possibility. And that was mentioned before around decision fitness. That is a real thing for kids right now. I think it's a real thing all the time, but certainly right now, kids are lonely. Kids are struggling for connection, and sometimes that may not be the easiest time for them to be thinking clearly. And so to help walk through that can be really, really important. And so I always appreciate the tools that have been given to me by DEF and through my work with people in the world of decision quality to help me work with them. I will tell a personal story. So my daughter, who is now 21, was one of our first groups that we got to teach in a class. She was a junior, and she was our second class, and that we taught. And she graduated in 2017, and she has just been a model because, well, partly because she's had to live it at my house, right? So it's been 10 years, poor thing, like since she was 11, she's heard it. But she also took the class, and she is now a college admissions director at Central Oregon Community College in Bend in Central Oregon. And she has started as an ambassador. Now she's actually hired, but she uses it with her students that are taking tours, that she's helping guide. She's always helping them clarify values immediately, because one of her first questions she asks them is, what do you want to get out of college? What is your experience? Like, she's using the language as she works there. So we're very proud of how Frank and I say we, it's really Frank and I, like when we taught her some of those things. So it's not only does she use it as her own life, she's doing this job and also finishing her degree, which is pretty amazing online. But she's using a creative alternative right there. But she's also really trying to pass it on to the next people she's working with to make sure COCC is the right fit for them. She doesn't want them to attend there if it's not right, but she's helping clarify their values, helping them decide creative alternatives, and all of that. So we're very proud of that. And the other students that we've worked with that are passing that on and using it in post-high school life and adult life, we hear back from them. So it is certainly something you can pass on to them as they go. And that's the fun part about being in high school, is you get to still connect with them as adults and see their great things. So I am going now, and if you want, you can ask me questions. I am definitely like the happy DEF, like I'll go praises and praises, but as you can tell, all of us will.